What's up, Ramblers? Your favorite CEO is back. And before we begin today's podcast, make sure you hit the subscribe button to never miss an episode. And follow Assistance HQ and Offsource HQ across all platforms to stay up to date on the latest content, updates, and more. And remember, if you need a virtual assistant, visit us at offsource.tech. Now, before we begin, a word from our sponsor.
Let's do it.
So it's always weird for me whenever, like, when I say something and people take the advice, like at first that's new. Like me speaking and someone sitting there saying, cool, I'm gonna listen to you and do just that. I'm gonna listen to you. You're the expert is totally new for me. Like that is left field. Like, wow, this person takes me seriously kind of thing. I'm not really kind of used to that. That's kind of weird. But then
Really?
yeah, because I mean, like I said, I'm 24. Not everyone's really wants to listen to this. Like, who is this kid? Kind of thing. And so I kind of just phrase it as, hey, this is some of the stuff I've been doing some research. This is what I think. This is my opinion. It's not fact. And this is what I'm going to try out. This is what works for me. And in correlation, this is what I've seen work for XYZ kind of successful people. And one of the things is when I listen to people, they take, it's just literally somebody's opinion. Listening to, like Brian Tracy or Gary Vee or Tony Robbins or anything like that is literally if I just had a larger following. They're not, I don't want to say they're not anything special. It's just they have proven what they've done. I'm just in the progress of proving what I've done.
I love that.
Mm-hmm. And thank you. I don't know. I get giddy inside. You're like, oh, hey, you helped me with X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, I helped you for real? Like, thank you.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. Like that's interesting because I feel like I'm not that old. I'm much older than you, but in a lot of groups I'm still the baby, if that makes sense. Like a lot of people are much older than me, and I do feel that way as well. Like how do I look credible? Like I really know my own craft, but then like at the same time I'm also learning, right? And at this point I believe nobody knows all. Like nobody does. Even like people like have experiences. Like I can tell you like that I know like my approach can get like a more results depending on what you're trying to do, right? So that in that sense I'm confident. But then but at the same time, like how do you make people listen to you? I think that's like a great topic, like especially when we're the youngest one in the group, and how do you get respect from other people? And that's a really difficult one. Since when you feel more comfortable speaking up, because you've been in a couple webinars already. Yeah. Since when you feel more comfortable speaking up, like and feel like you have something to offer?
I feel like I've always had something to offer, mm-hmm. But I've always been a speaker. Like not like when I was a kid, my parents and my mom and my grandparents and my dad, like, you just talk to hear yourself talk. Like you don't say nothing. You just talk and you just like to hear, you like the sound of your own voice. And I was like, no, I have something to say. Like I have something that should be like, why are you telling me I'm talking just to talk? Like you're not listening to me. That means like, how are you going to say I'm just talking to talk? I don't even know what like talk like, and now I kind of know what that means. People just be like BSing, like chip and tongue. But I've always been a talker. Like I'm an extrovert. Like giving presentations in school like was the easiest grade for me, kind of thing, because I don't have to do any homework. I don't have to do anything. I just have to look at the presentation the night before. As long as I know the subject, which is very easy. I always give long talks about something that I'm confident in knowing. I don't care. Like I'll just start talking, and I'll talk to any, like, you feel me? I love the presentation things. And then on top of it, my love of business, my love of entrepreneurship is a very different love growing up in school than what a lot of people have. So you get into a lot more conversations about like what it is that you like, why you like it, what you do, how do you plan on doing it? Because believe it or not, if I would have said my goal is to go to like, be a pro athlete versus someone who's going to be like helping a lot of people on Wall Street, I get more feedback and education and, hey, this is what you should probably be doing if I wanted to be a pro athlete versus someone in small business, wanted to be a business owner. In business, the thing is go to college, go to college, go to college, and then work for somebody, do all this. Everything that business owners tell you don't do, school says, hey, do this. And so growing up.
It's funny. There's like sorry to cut you off, but like, I think it'd be a great podcast to talk about how and what kind of things you should unlearn from school as an entrepreneur. And also like, how do you do that? I agree with you 100%. There's so many things, especially like the education background that I have, like just as a culture. I have to unlearn so many things, and I have to like, course correct myself in so many ways, so that, we can keep pushing forward and push through your fear, push through your like old habits of like being afraid to be wrong. If that makes sense. And that was a huge part of my past, like of my school life, is to be like, you guys here. I'm sure that you grew up here, right? I just want to make sure that
Oh yeah, I'm from Connecticut, born and raised. Kind of suburbs. Went to a private school and everything.
Yeah. Wow, nice. You see, like that's different, because like with me being in school, like Asian schools, what happened is like here it's basically like, oh, they ask you a question, you give an answer. If the answer is even like just close, or they can see that, oh, you understand, they will give you a pass, right? They were like, oh, okay, this is good. In my schooling, the day that I was going to school, and the way that we're being taught is that you have to have a model answer. What it means is that you have to have the right keywords in your answers. You have to have the right sequence of answering, right logic. Like not only just, if they can kind of see you understand it. No, like you have to answer with a certain keywords in a certain sequence, and then you get your points. If any of them are wrong, you get half point or no points. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I had a teacher like that one time. Hated it. Like,
I know.
Hated it.
Exactly. So like for us, like we go so far at like going to tutorial classes afterwards, and those are like serious tutorial class, like not just like going like we're talking about after school. Like you have your normal school, and then afterwards you go to tutorial classes. Yeah. When we have the you guys have the, what is it called, the test, the public test that everyone has to do. I can't remember. Not GMAT. It starts with a G. GPA. No. GPA. No. Like
SATs.
SAT. Sorry. SAT. That's right. So we have something like that as well. But then like it's like the whole all the students in like Hong Kong, not just my class, not just my school, it's all the students in Hong Kong that would take tests at the same time.
Right.
Yeah, like on a certain subject at the same time, a certain subject, like a public test, right? So what happened is like we'll go to a tutorial class just to prepare for that test, and then we're talking about like, oh, 8 o'clock you go to school, and in your school, and then 4 you get a little break, and then like you actually go pay extra money to go to the external tutorial class outside of your school till like 8 or 9, and then you go home and you do your homework, and then you start over again. Like that's a normal life for a student in my country. And the funny thing is, like when you go to those tutorial class, you're not gaining extra knowledge so that you can handle the test. You actually knowing what you know from school, but then they put hyper focus on what's the keywords that, like if they ask this question, what is the keywords that you need to answer? What are the keywords that you have to include in your answer? Or like how do you like answer it correctly so you get the points? That's the training. Right. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, not the knowledge, not like, oh, how it works, or like try to understand it. Not understanding it, it's regurgitate. They train you to regurgitate it. So then like in a way, and I'm like, oh, like you can't be wrong, because like you become so afraid to be wrong because you're wrong, like you don't get the points, your parents will be upset with your low score and all those consequences, right? So So then like, that's something that I have to unlearn here, especially in America. And it's really, I think America is still it's a very special place. Although a lot of people like not happy with it, I still think it's a very special place.
I agree with that. In a sense, like being Black, I can't say that I like America or love America at all. I don't. But I absolutely do see the benefits in comparison to being, maybe born certain other places and everything. Maybe it would be good to be born in like Switzerland or one of the happiest places on earth or something like that. But there is a sort of privilege, and if you will, of just being born here. And I think a lot of people really overlook that. They squander it. Because of being born here, it's just very thrown to the wayside. And so one of the things, especially with that my dad taught me, he was born here, but his father came over and everything, is everybody gets some kind of opportunity. It's about the work ethic that you put in, because everyone here complains, yet how is it that a lot of other like immigrants come here and are able to build and make more of themselves, but us here are not able to do that? It's because they have the work ethic. They understand like the luxury and the privilege of even kind of like being here, and they're not stealing or anything. They're just outworking you. They have a better work ethic than you. They have a better mindset than you. You feel me?
Right.
Like they're sticking together. My dad always is talking about how, people are like communal living. My dad's a huge fan of like, grandparents living on the first floor, like, first like 2-3 generations in a house and everything, everyone contributing to paying bills and stuff, like keeping costs low. That is like my dad's like, kind of thing. And like, while I've taken some of that, I've really taken like the work ethic part, right? I've seen my dad to this day probably working himself into a grave and everything, right? And seeing like that work ethic really gives me the idea of saying, hey, it's really not about necessarily school education, because if you look at a lot of the entrepreneurs, a lot of small business owners, most of them don't have like a college degree.
Yeah.
And if you do, you probably dropped out and everything. I'm one of those people. It's a funny story, but I was on Twitter one day, like it was after I had started the business, and I think it was before I had got funding. And I had just tweeted something randomly, and I was just like, maybe if I tweet and say that I'm going to be a college dropout, business will go better. And I was like, maybe I'll be maybe people will consider me like a startup founder if I say I dropped out of college. Like maybe I need to say, hey, I'm a college dropout to start this business, and people will start to flock and everything. Like that's the thing, like this. And low key enough, when I decided that it was like, okay, I'm not going to be in school next semester, because my dad was really mad. Like my dad didn't know for like the first couple of months when I started my business that I wasn't in school. Like he thought like I was in school because I was lying and telling him I was in school and everything. And then he's not dumb. And so one day he just was like, when's your next class? Now I'm stuck. I'm like, and I'm like, I got class and like, tomorrow. I was like, he's like, so when's your schedule and everything? Show me your grades. He's like, and then there was like a weird pause, and he's like, you're not going to class. You're not in classes, are you? And I'm like, no. I started this business though, and like, things are like it's different at the time.
He's not thrilled about the idea. I'm pretty sure my sister is a college no, she's a school dropout. She's not even college dropout. So I understand how furious your parents probably be like, what did you say?
My mom is fine with it. Lo and behold, that was probably a key thing for me. My mom being like, you don't even need to like, she's not even, I wouldn't say she's against college, but she is very much for the best use of your money, right? And so just as like an example, and I can say this, my younger brother, both of them actually are the worst people when it comes to school. Like my younger brother barely graduated high school, and then my youngest one, he's currently like kind of staying back. He's going to be completing it like high school differently, but she wasn't enforcing college either, because teachers are always like, you have to get good grades, pick your grades up so you can get into a better college. If you're failing now, it's going to be a lot harder in college. And the narrative should probably be, if you're failing now and you're barely getting through high school, why the would you send somebody to college? Like you, like not only are they not doing well when they have probably the best support system in terms of school, because like you're living at home, you can ask your parents kind of stuff if you're able to, like you may or may not have a counselor and everything. I saw some statistics where like a certain amount of millions of kids don't have counselors in their school and everything. But if you're in a situation and that is relatively good, being in college, it doesn't get better. It doesn't, no one's ever says, oh, college was easier than high school. Everyone says college is harder. So if you're not doing so well in high school, what makes you think that college is the best route? And so the way I look at it really is money, right? People are always like, money, this, money, that. And I'm like, that's fine. But let's look at some of the things that you're saying, right? You want someone who is not good at something. This is a skill. School is not your skill, right?
Yep, I agree.
Why would you invest? The average school debt is $33,000 or something like that. Why would you invest $33,000 into $33,000 and 4 years of your life? $33,000 and 4 years of your life to something that you're not good at, right?
I think it makes sense at a certain point. Like depends on what you're trying to do, right? Like there are people just want to try to be like investment banker, right? That's a good, you have to, well, I shouldn't say you have to, because I work in investment bank and my my manager didn't have like a college degree. Just so that like, shouldn't say you have to, you or must.
If you want to be like a doctor or a lawyer, you got to go to school, college, yeah.
Yes, you're doctor or lawyers, or like you want to try to be like a white collar, right? Like that will be a better route. But then I agree with you that that's not a necessary. And if you're failing at school, probably college is not the best, opportunity for you until you feel like, it's time for you to go to school. You feel the urgent needs to do that. But I agree with you on that one for sure. So when you drop out of college, of course, that's your decision, right?
It was not a full dropout. I've been recently officially labeled myself kind of like a dropout, but I'm really kind of like on
gap year.
Like I'm taking a gap year, really. I just say like, I took a gap year to build a business. And then, well, I mean, I got like, how am I going to go back to like, it eases people because college dropout in certain networking groups is still kind of like,
Yeah.
But if I'm like, I'm on gap year to build something and I'm like, well, I mean, I don't know if I'm going to go back because like this thing is kind of doing well and like, how would I have the time? And they're like, oh, okay, yeah, you should really grow this. So then you can go back to school whenever. But if I said if I was a college dropout, y'all would have been on my neck.
Yeah, no, I agree. But so it doesn't sound like it's a difficult decision for you. I mean, taking that gap year, I'm not going to call you a dropout, like taking the gap year. It doesn't sound like it's a difficult decision for you. Or is there actual like a struggle or like, some sort of considerations in there when you make that decision?
Caveat, I was listening to Gary Vee a lot before I made that decision fully. But
I like him a lot too.
The big push, and this is like the huge push. This is the reason where I just said, screw it, I don't care. And no one can really make me change my mind. I was I was gonna go that semester, like literally January 2020 or February, whenever school was starting back up in 2020. Literally, I was gonna go back to school, not go back to school, but I was gonna continue, my next semester, 2020.
Right.
My dad said, I'm not gonna pay for school. And I went to a community college, so the tuition was not expensive. He was paying in cash for it. He was paying cash for it. You feel me? Tuition was like $2,000, literally. It was the cheapest thing ever. It was cheaper than high school. And he was like, I'm not paying for college. I will pay you to go to college. So you pay for your classes. If you do well, not if I like, in his definition of doing well is a B+ or above. You can't have anything lower than a B+ with it. If you take 5 classes, being full-time, mind you, full-time is 4 classes or above, but he does not allow you, in his mind, you are not a full-time student unless you take 5 classes. That's how he is.
Interesting. Okay, pushing for that extra mile, huh?
But yes, and he's like, oh, who do you? I'm like, everybody. The school says full-time is 4 classes, bro.
Exactly, yeah.
And he's like, no, that's not full-time. Okay, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
Turn. You pay your turn.
Right, you're paying. And then he was like, so I will pay you back plus extra if you do well, take 5 classes and pay for your semester of this school. I did not. I was walking dogs. I was in the office. Like I was doing bookkeeping, payroll. I was the office person. But when I needed to walk dogs. I was like, bro, I walk with dogs right now. How am I going to pay my own tuition? Like, what? I don't have no money saved up. What is wrong with you? Like, what do you think? So I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm just like, I told him, okay, I would do it. I told him, like, yeah, just to get him off my back. And so I was like, I'm not. I don't have the money. Like, I don't gotta. Like, that was my whole kind of thing. So not everyone has that, but my thing was, I can't afford it myself. Like that's like I really was kind of blaming my dad. I was like, your fault, not my problem. Not my problem. And that's really what made me take the jump. And that I was doing the business because my goal, I would say this, my goal was, how big can I grow my business before my dad finds out? Like I need to be doing substantially well before he finds out, because if he finds out and I'm like, yeah, I was starting this business though, and he's like, well, show me the money, and I'm like,
I don't have it.
Rabbit ears in my pockets. He's gonna be like, I guess this is gonna be nothing. And so that's really kind of how that happened. He said he wasn't gonna pay, and I was like, starting this business anyway, so let's see. But then Corona happened, and I was like, oh, thank God, because I would have failed that semester. Like if I would have paid, I don't care if I spent my own money. Online learning is not for me. In terms of college, I learn online now because I take classes now, like online.
You have necessity, like there are things that you're interested in learning. I'm taking class, so I'm taking strategy class online, business strategy. Actually, that would be a cool one that I would love to share with you. But anyway, so I'm taking like these kind of classes, but trust me, I went through college, but those are the most agonizing year of my life. And this is why, like all the school years, actually, I'm not a school person. I don't like learning school. Like everything they taught me, I can't say that is useless. And really, because like now the fact that I know how to use spreadsheet, like I know how to do simple calculations, understand, like what the business was talking about, like all those are from accounting, finance, like all those stuff. I can't say that it's useless, but at the same time, I'm seriously like not a school person at all. Like all those chemistry, I ate them all. Like I test out all of my math class, but school is really difficult, really, really difficult for me. Like just college itself, because I feel like, you're not really, there's not a lot of doing an application, or like a useful application, at least like that would benefit you in any way. So like in school, you know what I mean? Like the stuff that you're learning, it's like, okay, when am I going to use this? You know what I mean? Like you learn chemistry, or biology make a little more sense, but then like chemistry, physics, and also differentiation, like, oh no, is it called differentiation? Like the math, like the calculus, and like when am I going to use this?
Exactly.
So no, I think I'm with you. Like the willingness to learn and going to school are two different things.
Absolutely.
Hey Ramblers, that's it. Podcast is over. Don't leave yet though. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the podcast, and follow us on YouTube at OffSource HQ. We'll see you next time.